Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're watching us from. Hi, my people. Good evening to you all. Hi, everybody. How is everyone doing this evening? Okay, I'm back again on the topic what is baptism? Part 3. So, hi, as I wait for people to join me. What a marvelous God. What a marvelous God. He has done marvelous things for me. What a powerful God. What a marvelous. He is to do marvelous things for me. The things that are impossible, the things that money cannot buy, they are the things He has done for me. Oh. What my father cannot do, what my mother cannot do. He has done it again and again. Good evening to you. How is everybody doing? Please, as you're joining, leave me a comment. Um, I just want to revisit the topic again. What is baptism? Hi, Dao. Good evening to you, Dao. Don't know, I think that's the first time I'm saying this name. Good evening. Hope you're doing okay. So yesterday, like the French we say, catastrophe. Yesterday was catastrophe for me. There were a lot of things that were just flying, a lot of stories like it really got me confused. And since morning I've been trying to, try to see if there's a way I can fix it, to my belief, and I believe your belief. And everybody, honestly, we're not discriminating here. Everybody have their own right to their own opinion, and they can add their own view or their own belief, and they can share it. And it's not up to you and I to want to believe it or not. So, like I said, what really drew my attention to this topic of baptism is about the little children, that whenever if they are not baptized, they go to hell. Little children. We're talking about newborn. Uh, because I think we concluded yesterday that at least at the age of 12, children begins to know what is good and what is bad. So I can say if a child of that age, because Jesus started doing the work of his father when he was 12. So imagine he knew what was good and what was bad, what is bad, sorry, at that time, and before he started doing the work of his father. So I think I made a mistake yesterday because I'm always the type of person that go back and listen to my own broadcast to know if I made a mistake. I think I said Jesus got baptized at the age of 12 yesterday. It's laughable. No, but later I corrected myself. So, you know, what I was saying is, what I was wanted to say was Jesus started doing the work of his father at the age of 12. So at the age of 12, we imagine that children begins to understand what is good and what is bad, and they have to choose their own path, what to do and what not to do. So, okay. So as I was doing the research, like I said, it's only the baby part, the children part that really drew my attention. And I also wanted to know if the sprinkling of water and the bathtub or the swimming pool that people create themselves to be baptizing people, if it's the same as baptizing them in immersion, you know. Hi, good evening to you, Blossom. Good evening. I'm fine. So those were the area I was struggling with. If they are the same, the baptism, if they are the same. Just a minute. I those were the two things that really got me worried a little bit, like little children, and I want to know if the baptism they do on in the bathtub or the swimming pool or the sprinkling of water, and also I want to know if children who are baptized, are at the tender age, maybe at the age of 2 months, 3 months, I think it's 3 months they do that. I believe, in my own belief, I believe children should be old enough to understand what baptism is, attend a baptismal class, for them to be able to know if they really want to be baptized. So that was these are the areas I really want to look into, like I said. So as I was doing some reading this afternoon, I was doing some research. I wouldn't call it research. Um I wouldn't call it a research. I was just reading, just glancing through. Then I found a write up of God questions. So in that write up, let me just put the link as usual. If anyone wants to join me, please. It's open. You're open to join. Good evening to you, King Blackie. God bless you. Good evening. Um, So if anyone wants to join me on this topic, please, you're invited. We are all learning. I don't know it all. I'm learning and I'm trying to understand some certain things. But if there's any area you feel you can throw light into the topic, please don't hesitate to join me. I'll be really glad. So we can learn about sprinkling of water, bathtub, swimming pool, and a river. The foundation. Is it foundation? I'm going back to foundation. The mansion, taking baptizing in a mansion. You understand? We wants to know if they are the same. If it's been because, like, what our brother said yesterday, that people who are baptized, in the what if I understood him very well, because I watched it again, that people who are baptized in our own way, like the Pentecostal way or the Anglican way or whatsoever, needs to go and rebaptize again in the Orthodox way. That's the real one. So that aside, I'm not here to, So let's leave it at that. So I want to know this baptism, which one is the correct one, and which one does the Bible uh, really advise us to do. Then in another way, I I got this articles. I read this article and I feel like sharing it with you people. I think it talks about, do babies and children go to heaven when they die? Because I remember, I think this was the disciples of Jesus when Jesus was teaching, and his disciples, they were rebuking people who, if I understood the story very well, concerning little babies. I think they were chasing away little children, and Jesus said, I think Jesus said that. I think there's a part in the Bible that little children, but Jesus said, let the little children come to me and do not hinder them, for to such belong the kingdom of heaven. So if Jesus is inviting the little children, why will God want them to go to hell? So it's confusing. Like I keep saying, and I keep saying that I'm open to learn. I want to learn. I want to understand this word baptism. And I think in this part of the Bible, I think there was nothing like baptizing little children in this story. So I got to a place, one article that I read from God's questions. It talks about, do babies and children go to heaven? So I will just read it for everyone. I think, do babies and children go to heaven when they die? So when I saw it, and the answer is that the Bible did not really explain the question whether children who die goes to heaven or hell. But however, enough indirect information can be pieced together from scriptures to provide a satisfactory answer which relates to infants as well as those with mental handicap and others. I don't know where that one came from. When I read it, I didn't see that part. Okay. So the Bible speaks to the fact that all of us born of human parents are born with an inherited corruption from Adam's. I think this wasn't the one I was reading. Let me look for it. Let me go look for it. I think that wasn't the one I was reading. Okay. So, okay, I think this was the one I saw. Where the one I was reading was okay. Since we talk about little children, whenever they die, according to what they said, if they die, they go to hell because they were born with sin, and so on and so forth. So I kind of go into research of, okay, what about those kids that didn't even have the chance to, to even come out, like those children that were aborted. They didn't even have the chance to decide if they were going to come to this world or not. The parents decide for them. So I just went and I searched and I got the answer from God's question, which said, as we know it today, was not practiced in the biblical terms, and the Bible never specifically mentioned the issue of abortion. It is clear from the scripture that an unborn baby is known by the Lord even from the time of conception. So in that, you can see in Psalm 139, 13 to 16, where it says, although the Bible does not mention abortion or aborted babies, we do have two keys to help us unlock the answers to the question of whether the soul of aborted babies go to hell. So more or less is like these children didn't have the opportunity to even choose or decide if they are going to come to this world. The parents, because of situations or one way or the other, find themselves in a situation where they had to make a choice for themselves. So the children never had a chance. Okay, the first key is from the only passage in the Bible where something specific is said about the death of infants in Second Samuel 12. We learn of David's affair with Bathsheba, another man's wife. David was informed by the prophet Nathan that the child produced by that union would die. David then began to fast and pray, asking the Lord to not carry out his judgment when the child did die. David got up from praying and fasting and ate something. When asked about the behavior, David uttered the word recorded in 2 Samuel 12:23. Now he is dead. Why should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I should go to him, but he shall not return to me. David's words reflect a clear understanding that the child could not come back to earth, but David would be with his child one day in heaven. This indicates not only David's assurance of his own future in heaven. Okay, then in Psalm 23, verse 6, but also the assurance that his child would share that future. From this account, we can conclude that infants who dies are destined for heaven. So this is my belief. And there's another, the second key to dealing with this issue is an understanding of the character and attribute of God. Just a minute. Okay. A God of justice must punish sin, for the Bible teaches us that the wages of sin is death, which we can find in Romans 6:23. Neither an unborn child nor an aborted baby has had the opportunity to willfully sin. However, every child conceived bear the sin nature inherited from Adam's, and this is therefore subject to judgment at the same time. God revealed himself as God of goodness and mercy. He's gracious in all his work. It could very well be that God, in his grace, applied the sacrifice of Christ to the unborn victims of abortion. We know we know Christ's blood is sufficient for such a thing. After all, Jesus died for the sins of the world. So with this being, said, read, and the Bible does not specifically say whether or not an unborn child who dies goes to heaven without a clear passage. We can only speculate. However, we know of God's love, goodness, and compassion. We know of David's confidence that he would be with his child again. And we know that Jesus invited the children to come to him in Luke 18:16. Based on this surety, we believe in it appropriate to conclude that the soul of children are immediately in the presence of God when their lives are cut short by abortion. So this clearly, good evening, Black Child, good evening. This clearly has proven that, to me, to my understanding, that little children goes to heaven. So I don't believe in when a child dies, the child goes to hell because he was not baptized or anything. So our God is a God of compassion, a good God, a God that have mercy, a God that shows mercy to whom he wants to. And for little children who don't really have the chance to 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 understand what life is. You can tell me 1 year, a 1 month old child knows what is doing. Revelation 20, verse 12. Let me look at it. Good evening to you, Brother Tulu. Revelation 20:12. Why am I using the small Bible today again? Okay. This one will be difficult again. Revelation 20:12. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. Really? And the book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the book according to their works. Okay, now I'm not a pastor. I'm just trying to understand. So I'm doing my best to understand. Okay, now if you say that they will be judged according to what is written, what has a little baby, what has a little child done? What record has a little child? So it's kind of confusing. So that's why I actually need people who understand this topic, to really throw some light into it. To their own understanding does not mean that it must be accurate. You can just throw a little light to it. So we'll stand before God and we'll be judged, little, small, big and little. When we talk about big and little, we can have a child of 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, 12 years, 13 years. It's still little compared to a man of 90 years, 92. I've seen people who are 112, 113. I've seen them. So we have older people, we have, 80s, 90s, 60s. They are also grown up people. So the Bible did not specify the age. The Bible only said small and big. In this passage that I read, it did not say little babies. So my confusion still remains. I want to know about the sprinkling of water, the bathtub, and the mansion, if they are the same. If those people who have been baptized in a bathtub, for example, or a swimming pool, if they need to go back all over again to go and baptize, to be baptized in immersion, so we can know what is right and what is, good. But somehow along the line, I begin to think that if the pastor is baptizing them in a swimming pool or in a bathtub, could it means that he already knows that it's also right for him to baptize them there when he knows clearly that the scripture said, I don't even know if the scripture said in immersion. So I'm kind of confused. Like I always say, I'm open to learn. I'm open to learn. I want to learn about this topic. Like I said, it's wired. We're talking about baptism, we're talking about people who are not baptized, we're talking about little children who didn't even have the chance to choose if they're coming to this world or not, and their life is being cut short. So I would like to know, so if anyone out there have this explanation and think you can do better in explaining it to me, I'll be glad to have them. So they are judged according to their works implies that a child will not be judged as they have not committed any form of sin. Thank you. I agree with this one. Thank you very much. So it's more or less like what I was trying to explain. So my people, thank you guys for joining me. This is where I say goodbye to everybody. So good night, everyone. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next episode. Thank you so much. So bye. Thank you, Brastolu, for joining your comments. Thank you, Black Child. Good evening to you, Black Child. Thank you, King Blackie. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, Blossom, and everyone out there. God bless you. So I'll see you in my next.